What's up, y'all? Today, I'm talking about an aspect of being a musician that's rarely discussed in bands. And so, it's a little something I like to call the intangible tangibles. Alright? This is all the stuff that musicians do that has absolutely nothing to do with music whatsoever. So, for example, you have a really phenomenal, fantastic drummer. He's doing ghost notes and fills and 30-second notes and all this crazy stuff, right? But he shows up late, he drinks on the gig, he leaves early, doesn't help anybody with moving equipment. You have this other drummer, right? And the other guy is maybe not as talented. He's not as rhythmically gifted, so to speak. He's not doing ghost notes. He's not doing a bunch of crazy fills. But guess what? He does show up on time. He stays straight and sober at the gig. He helps the other band members with their equipment. Who are you going to hire for the gig? So this is a aspect of being a musician that a lot of people don't talk about because they're guilty of some of these things. So the intangible tangibles, what even does that mean, right? You can't really put your finger on it. You can't see it. You can't touch it. It's not tangible. But it has a tangible effect and it has a tangible impact on the morale, the success, the productivity of your rehearsals. Intangible tangibles. So one of the biggest intangible tangibles is doing your homework. Coming prepared to your rehearsal, right? I shouldn't even really have to say this, honestly. When they know they're that good, it's like they stop trying as hard in other areas. So as soon as you start getting really good and in really high demand, it's like, well, you don't really care how you're being perceived because you've got the gigs. Everybody knows you're the best drummer in the world. But guess what? They're gonna stop calling you. Because first of all, if you do a bunch of fills and a bunch of crazy stuff in the middle of a song and you're not supporting the artist, you're not supporting the other band members, you're just soloing over everything they do, they're not going to want to work with you again. It doesn't matter how good you are. Which brings me to the next intangible tangible, which is keeping your ego in check. So don't let the success go to your head. You start playing a couple of gigs, you start making $400, $500, $600 a man, and you're going to have this inkling to just stop trying, and you have to fight it. You have to kind of frame it in your mind like you're still not that good. You might be playing $600 a man gigs, but you should be seeking out and hanging out with guys that are getting paid $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 a man. And that way you always kind of keep yourself in check. You always have somebody else that you're looking up to and you're saying, all right, I'm still not there yet. I'm still not at that level. But if you don't have that metric to measure how far you've come and how far you still have yet to go, this is where these problems start to manifest themselves. And it's not something people do consciously. I really don't think it is. I still love these guys. I will still absolutely invite them to jam sessions and shoot videos with them and have a grand old time. But when it comes down to actually hiring somebody to do a job and to be a professional, this is where the intangible tangibles come into play. At the higher levels, they just don't want to rehearse. They don't want to be prepared. They got it. You know, they're good. They'll be all right. So you have this mentality and it's shooting you in the foot. But it's only manifesting because you've achieved some level of success in the past. It's kind of this weird catch-22. It's like as soon as you get high enough on the ladder, then you stop trying and the ladder knocks you down a couple rungs. Every time you get rejected for a gig, you lose a job. You know, these guys want to make it into like this ego thing of like, oh, I'm so offended, like I should have got the job instead of this other guy. Like, no, dude, no. Like, you didn't get the job because you don't have the intangible tangibles. Stop making it into a drama thing. Stop making it into a combative thing. So it's not so much that they're not capable of preparing or they have so much going on in their life that they don't have 5 seconds to listen to a song and make a chart. That's not it. It's that they think they don't have to. So the next intangible tangible that I would like to mention is communication. Guys that send out a lot of texts and make a lot of phone calls and will talk to you face to face like I'm doing right here, these are the types of skills that you need to acquire if you really want to be a professional in the music game. And I actually personally prefer to work with guys who will turn their filter off and tell you what they really think. And it might be offensive, it might be something you don't want to hear, because I appreciate hearing that. I want to hear that. I want to get it out in the open and discuss it and talk about it and get it out of the way so we can get on to the show and play some beautiful music. And so you want to find these guys that are willing to talk about things. They're not like being secretive. They're not being standoffish. You want to hire guys that are going to hang out with you and talk to you before the show and kind of go over the little parts and transitions and, you know, talk about different things and experiment things that you can try at the next show, or things that went well at this show that could have been better last show or the next show. These are the kind of guys you want to be talking to. You want to have that relationship with them. And you want to be one of those guys. You want to be a team player. You don't want to be one of these standoffish guys that just wants to sit off in the corner instead of actually strengthening that bond between the musicians. And so that's going to make your whole team stronger when you have that level of communication. Another intangible, tangible that drives me nuts these days is this sort of lack of commitment. Nobody wants to just commit to something and follow it all the way through to the end and finish it. It's like, yeah, man, we'll do that thing, sure. And then you call them and they don't call back. And you call them and they don't call back. I understand. Everybody's busy. I don't answer every call right away. I don't answer every text right away. But if it's somebody that I know is really invested in the success of whatever project is happening, somebody I know I can trust, who I know is going to make some real magic happen, I'm going to absolutely make sure that I get back to that person in a timely fashion. Even if it's not today, if it's not tomorrow, I'm going to get back to them just to show them that I'm still interested in what they're doing. And it's these guys that are out here that they're never interested in one thing. They're like, oh, I'm in this band, and I play with these guys and those guys, and I sit in with those guys, and I sideman for this guy, and then I have my own side project over here, and I'm working on a solo album, but then I'm also working on a band project with this one. Like, finish one thing first. Figure out what works and double down on that. And you want to associate with guys that do the same thing. That's how you're going to eventually land on something that really works. The last intangible, tangible that I'm going to bring up here is the attitude that you have in the rehearsal, your demeanor, your ability to let little things go and not get distracted by drama. You know, not letting your emotions get in the way and start driving the truck of your actions. Because you can feel however you want to feel, right? But don't let that take you over and make you do something in the moment that you're probably going to regret in the matter of hours, right? And so there's this really weird thing in the music scene around DC where everybody's just so combative. They're so competitive. They're just willing to tear everybody else down and, screw over whoever they can in order to help themselves get to whatever they think is that next rung of success, which in many cases is not actually the next rung of success because they're misguided anyway, and because of their lack of communication, they're never able to realize that. But I digress. The attitude that you have is so important. I want to work with guys who make me feel good. I want to work with guys that know how to tell me when I'm doing something right and give me that encouragement to keep doing it, and let me know that that little thing that I put at the end of the chorus is really, really cool, or alternatively, it's really, really lame and it's got to go. Either way, you have to be able to convey ideas like that without just being rude, without just being mean to people. I'm definitely more of the kind of guy that's just going to say it and like let your opinion be whatever it's going to be. That's a you problem. But at the same token, I work with a lot of kids, a lot of younger people, a lot of less experienced musicians, and you can't just be dropping truth bombs on everybody left and right. It's just not, it's just kind of off-putting. And you think you're helping them. You think you're giving them some sort of great wisdom, and they're just like, this dude's kind of annoying, right? So there's ways to do it. For example, if you have a vocal section, You got 3 singers and they're singing and they're doing great, they're doing fine, they're all in tune, they're perfect. You get to a section and everything falls apart. It's a train wreck. Well, how do you deal with that? So I'll give you A, B, C. Do you, A, man, you guys suck. That was awful. That was terrible. Man, y'all need to like do something, because I don't know what that is. Do you B, just do nothing and just sit there quietly? Or do you C, say, oh wow, we gotta work on that a little bit, guys. Let's go back a couple of bars and let's actually make it fun to correct our mistakes. Let's go and do it on a loop. Let's go and do it and add some kind of layer of challenge to it. Let's do some kind of vocal warm-up, or let's do some kind of cool vamp, or let's rearrange and have the other guy sing the other guy's part just so he knows that that's the other part and not his part. Do something interesting, do something fun to keep your rehearsal moving smoothly and to keep the attitudes of everybody light. You want to keep the energy positive. You want to keep everything flowing upwards so that even when you have to deal with difficult things, mistakes, problems, drama, you're dealing with it in a positive way. And so another thing I like to do is just smile and just come up with jokes. Like, just joke about stuff, not in a mean-spirited way, not in an insulting way. You're still talking about the problem. You're still talking about whatever you're talking about, but you're making it lighthearted, you're making it fun, you're making it enjoyable, and people are laughing at themselves. And everybody loves to laugh. That's just going to be the best way to deal with it, in my opinion. You know, not getting high, not getting drunk on your gigs. That's all. I'm taking all of that for granted. We're talking about the really, really crucial stuff here that they don't teach you in music school. Being a good musician and being a good producer is kind of being a psychiatrist. Your kind of job is to talk to these singers, talk to these musicians, get them to relax, get them to trust you, and have fun working with you. You want them to look forward to whatever thing you're doing. A lot of people around here want to make it all about them. They want to make it combative. They want to make it a negative thing. They want to make it an inconvenience and a chore. And that situation is not going to last long. It's not going to be sustainable. But let me know what you guys think. Do you agree with my definition of intangible tangibles? I think it's a nice way to put it because it's not something that you can really explain right away. But as soon as you mention it, people generally know what you're talking about. You know, moving equipment, you know, just being a nice guy all around. Helping with wrapping cables and, you know, communicating well with the sound guy and not being rude, not demanding like a diva, all this unreasonable stuff. These are the intangible tangibles, in my opinion. But what do you think? What have you experienced? What kind of intangible tangibles do you try to strive for? What kind of intangible tangibles do you wish that your band members would strive for? And what's your experience with that? Let me know in the comments. We will keep the conversation going. So I think that if you're embodying these intangible tangibles, that is how you get the money.